The standard professional assumption is that career advancement follows a predictable equation. Maximum visible competence yields maximum reward. This scatterplot maps employee competence against career advancement. The trend line moves steadily upward, but at the highest performance levels, the correlation breaks and plunges. This drop-off is the status threat threshold, the exact intersection where a subordinate's brilliance triggers a defensive response from their superior. In this environment, managing a superior's ego becomes a higher leverage survival metric than the work itself. Understanding why this happens requires mapping the hidden logic behind the status threat response. A corporate hierarchy functions as a reactive political ecosystem, where the preservation of power often outweighs the drive for operational efficiency. Navigating these asymmetric structures requires a tactical framework for credit allocation, ensuring that high performance is perceived as a benefit to the superior rather than a challenge. Treating the workplace as a pure meritocracy is a strategic error that leaves high performers vulnerable to the very people they are trying to impress. Corporate architecture is built on a series of top-down dependencies, where each level is responsible for the layer directly beneath it. This is a basic three-tier reporting chain: the executive node at the top, the manager in the middle, and the subordinate at the base. The manager node is the most structurally vulnerable. They are squeezed between the executive's demand for results and the subordinate's ability to provide them. This creates a high insecurity index. Because the manager's standing depends on work they do not personally perform, they are constantly monitoring their subordinates for signs of non-compliance. While the subordinate focuses on producing work, the manager's primary directive is the maintenance of systemic order and their own position within it. A superior will prioritize their own security over the team's total output if those two goals come into conflict. To the executive level, a manager's value is tied to the appearance of absolute control over their department. Any action that makes a subordinate appear more vital to the company than their manager is a structural threat. Regardless of the profit it generates, it destabilizes the manager's perceived authority. Consider a scenario where an innovative idea originates solely from the subordinate level. In the outshine event, the subordinate bypasses the manager to present the idea directly to the executive. This bypass triggers an immediate spike in status threat for the manager, who has been excluded from the flow of information. The manager sees this independence as proof that they are no longer necessary to the process, making the subordinate a liability to their career. To regain control, the manager activates a retaliation mechanism, often using their authority to neutralize the subordinate through poor reviews or administrative isolation. In the reallocation event, the subordinate routes the same idea through the manager's approval process first. This routing diffuses the threat. The manager feels included and in control, lowering their insecurity. Because the subordinate has enhanced the manager's status in front of the executive, the manager now has a vested interest in protecting that subordinate's position. The error of outshining is focusing on the game of output, while the superior is playing a game of power security. Some high performers respond to this by deliberately lowering their standards, hoping that mediocre work will prevent them from being targeted. Underperformance is a losing strategy. The alternative is competence camouflage. This strategy involves maintaining a high level of output while actively reallocating the credit for that work to the immediate superior. On the left, the diminishment strategy results in a low-value employee. On the right, credit reallocation shows the subordinate doing high-level labor while making the manager appear to be the architect. During a restructuring, the low-output employee on the left is the first to be removed because they offer no value to the system. The employee on the right becomes indispensable. The manager's own success is now tied to the subordinate's productivity, creating a symbiotic survival bond. This is achieved by asking for the manager's guidance on already completed work, giving them a sense of authorship over the final result. Influence is built by turning a superior into a dependent proxy for your own competence. When we look at the long-term career life cycle, it becomes clear that advancement is rarely a straight line through a maze. By applying strategic competence, balancing output with ego management, the trend line on our graph no longer drops off, it continues to climb. This path is insulated from sabotage because each upward step is supported by a superior whose own status has been enhanced by the subordinate's work. The hidden logic of the hierarchy is that perceived status is the primary currency, and data is secondary. Mastery of the first law of power means recognizing that your standing is defined by the person directly above you. To secure your own advancement, you must transform your competence into the engine of your superior success, making your presence the most vital component of their own career.